Hi there, welcome back. My name is Sheldon McLeod. This is Thinking Out Loud. It's presented to you here on the SaltWire network. I again invite you to search up our YouTube channel, SaltWire's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all that's necessary to keep that as part of your feed. I'd like to say I'm helping build communities here, but there are people who have been building communities for decades, doing a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting, and it's been an evolution in some ways about the way that we're looking at the issue of affordable housing. I thought it was summed up great a few weeks ago. If housing is a commodity, well, then that's free market. If it's a basic human right, well, then people need to get involved and invested to make a difference. In fact, it's not looking great. I know the number has spiked since the pandemic. Looking at new facilities opening up in Dartmouth, another converted motel complex, which is hoped to be open by the start of the Christmas season, or at least by the new year. The number, around 700 people experiencing homelessness in Halifax and area. And Shelter Nova Scotia has come a long way to help deal with this and work with the people involved. And we say hello to Linda Wilson, the Executive Director of Shelter Nova Scotia. Linda, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you. Good morning.
What can you tell me about, and before we talk about the fundraiser and the importance of that, what have you seen as the evolution or the change in the way that we're all experiencing and talking about homelessness in Halifax?
Well, the circumstance that we're all witnessing today has been evolving for decades, and organizations like Shelter Nova Scotia and others who work with marginalized groups have been predicting this. It is worse than we thought, however. As you mentioned just moments ago, that there are 700 people experiencing homelessness in HRM right now. This time last year, there were 400. 3 years ago, if an employee said to me, and I think it actually did happen, that we need to start getting tents, I said, no, we need to work harder. We need to work harder at finding people places to stay. We're not giving out tents. Well, now we're asking for donations of tents, and last month we gave out 100. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Everybody's shelters are full. Everybody's services are full. And there's no affordable places to go.
And we've had this, I think it's fair to say, finger pointing. It's not my jurisdiction, it's this jurisdiction. But the federal government announced the Rapid Housing Initiative. The province of Nova Scotia has helped with a number of projects. The municipality said, well, we're just going to move ahead with some of our initiatives. So where does that place a Shelter Nova Scotia, an umbrella group that's been looking at this issue for a long time? Are people working together? Are layers of government finally working together?
I would say they are now. I think that is the approach that needs to be taken. There needs to be a municipal, provincial, and federal collaboration with service providers like us. There are lots of landlords, of course, good landlords. Many are very good and supportive, but landlords, private landlords who are making their living from being landlords, are not in the position to support some of the people who we see who need support, nor should they be expected to. There are people who need places to live for sure, and some of them just need a place to live. But there's a great number of people who need support. And you're not going to find the kind of support they need in a regular apartment building.
I don't know if you saw the report from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Association this week, where they said that this is a problem that's bigger than government, that it needs buy-in by, and they say maybe it's the free market, maybe it's something else. I've looked at models in Denmark and Scandinavian countries where labor unions are actually investing in properties. So are we thinking enough outside the box, or is this problem in this situation so acute that needs to happen, but not right just this moment?
I think we're doing both. The acute problem needs to be dealt with immediately. There should be nobody sleeping outside tonight, and there will be. And so, of course, that's what we're all focused on. I know that other organizations, and us to some extent, are looking at models in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, and we have been for a while, but none of that has actually been implemented yet. I think that there are organizations that have plans to do things that they're learning from other jurisdictions, and that's very, very important, because obviously if we had the solution here, we wouldn't be living what we're living right now.
And so often I look to something like food banks. That was supposed to be a temporary solution that has become a big part of our communities. And this campaign that's just being launched here, we're talking about Shelter Nova Scotia, a number of programs that you have, but I'm scrolling through here to the holiday wish list itself. So tell us what this means and why that program is important right now to you.
Well, traditionally, for I think hundreds of years, when people think of marginalized people, or however they view them, poor people, underserved people, there's all kinds of labels we put on people. It's typically in the holiday season where families get together and they're looking forward to some quality time and exchanging gifts, and they think, well, what about those people who find themselves alone? I think we should do something for them. And historically, for Shelter Nova Scotia and others, we receive about 40% of our support from the middle of November to the end of December. And the support that we receive has got to take us well into the summer. So having said that, we've been very grateful from kind of a charitable model to say thank you for whatever you give us. So, one year we received 1,000 pairs of socks. Well, we're good for a few years now for socks. We don't need socks anymore, and not to say that we won't. But what we've done this year and last year actually, to be more progressive, is to say, look, this is what we need. If you really want to serve and provide some comfort, please do so by purchasing these items, because often we do receive donations of things we need, but often we receive things that we don't need. So we're trying to be really clear about what we need to keep our six residential or emergency shelter facilities comfortable and clean and operating. And we also, for the last year, have had a walk-in service center, which is new for us. That's helping people who are currently outside.
You mentioned how the terminology has changed and how we refer to people who are experiencing homelessness. Do you think attitudes have changed?
I think it's slow and steady. And I think if people who, I think because it's more visible now, more people are talking about it now. It's never been so visible as it is now in Canada, but certainly in Halifax. And so people are asking more questions about it. They're wondering about it, where I think there is more understanding, but I don't think it's anywhere close to where it needs to be. There's still a lot of blame.
And by blame, you mean using language that says that people who find themselves in that situation are somehow responsible for that?
Yeah.
And for people who are steadfast in that opinion, how do you sway them? How do you convince them that, being intoxicated isn't illegal, or being addicted to a substance is not always a choice or ever a choice if it lands you living in a tent?
Well, I think, where we've had our most success is with people who've decided to make a call and say, can you explain this to me? What is happening here? Or people who have decided to provide a meal, come in to one of our facilities. We do it in an organized way. We call it Adopt a Meal. And they end up meeting some people and find out they're not that much different than me. And, people experiencing homelessness don't fall out of the sky. There's a whole process they go through of rejection and isolation that usually gets them to where they find themselves today.
Yeah, I was reading that story about a person experiencing homelessness in New Brunswick who died, and his mother said that he's not homeless, he's my son. It's just where his situation he found himself in. That's a tough thing for any family to want to deal with. All of this to say that Shelter Nova Scotia is offering outreach and support in these facilities. So again, what is the overall goal? How helpful is this campaign, this gifting campaign over the holidays for you?
Well, we do receive government money, some federal money and some provincial money, but we do have to privately fundraise as well. The math adds up to we need to fundraise $3,700 a day. We serve about 1,300 people a year. So we need items, of course, but we also need $37.50 a day per bed. So we have 106 beds. So we're selling what we call nights of rest for $37.50, and you'll see it on our website there. The $37.50, you get a card that say, there it is right there. Mm-hmm. You can see it would say from me to you, and you can give it to somebody as a gift, not just in the holiday season, but whenever you want to. So we've already started selling those again, and that is so good. It's motivating and comforting for us. So I'm hoping that our wish list will sell out of all those items that are on the list. And I also hope that people will purchase Nights of Rest.
And again, the campaign is underway now. And I was made aware that a song from Dave Carroll is being released officially on Thursday. It's available on YouTube now, Shelter from the Storm. Tell me a little bit about how that project came together.
Well, that is a beautiful thing. As you can imagine, through COVID, we struggled, our clients struggled, our board struggled. We just had to keep going. It was a very challenging time, as it was for everybody. And so we were looking for some way to kind of have a little bit of comfort together, to comfort ourselves. And so we have a relationship with Dave that goes back about 5 years. He's supported us in different ways. He's played little concerts in the shelter. He's served meals. He's had an interest in our work. And so we had a conversation about what if we had a song? And so he did focus groups, a number of focus groups with our employees and our board members and people who donate to Shelter Nova Scotia to try to come up with the essence of what we do. So he wrote this song, and as it started to develop, and we were talking about it internally, people said, well, can't we have a choir? Can't we sing the song with him? And so the next thing you know, we had a choir and we had a music video. And as we talked to more and more people about it, more and more people wanted to participate. So it's become, it started off as kind of almost something to comfort ourselves with, to like a reflection piece for us to think about what we do and why we do it, to we hope that it'll inspire people to, see what a great place we are and how hard we're trying, and maybe a bit of a fundraiser.
Well, Linda, I'm always glad to help the helpers, and you have certainly been helping in Halifax for a number of years. So thank you for the work that you're doing, for the support that you're giving, and I hope it comes back to you in kind, in spades, by the bucket load.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate your interest in making time for me today.
Executive Director of Shelter Nova Scotia, Linda Wilson.